Folks, I saw something really interesting that I'm looking to get your opinion on, and then I'll get into the latest home prices and insights for the City of Toronto for week ending October 11th, 2023. You know, I've often sold more than one property on the same street. It's never at the same time though, or it never has been. So I'll sell a property, after it's sold, sometime down the line, another seller, could be the day after the property sold, another potential seller on the street calls me and we talk about selling their home. What I saw was one agent had two properties listed for sale on the same street, literally just 2 or 3 houses apart. So they're neighbors, both are for sale at the same time, very similar homes, price was different, even commission on the home that came up for sale second was actually better. They offered a better commission to the co-op agent, to the agent who brings the buyer. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how does that actually play out in real life? You've got the first listing, and I'll use myself as the example. I've got the first listing, and we've negotiated with the seller, and we've talked about all the different comparables, and we came up with a price and a selling strategy. Now, when I sign a listing agreement, part of that responsibility is to do everything I can to properly represent that seller, to act in the seller's best interest. I have fiduciary responsibilities. Everything is geared towards helping that seller as my client. So if I hear anything, see anything that could affect that sale, I have a responsibility to tell the seller, hey, I just heard that your neighbor down the street is about to list their property at $50,000 lower than what we are. I'd have that responsibility if I knew that information. But if a neighbor calls me directly and says, Santo, I see you have that property for sale. I want to talk to you about selling mine. And that neighbor wants to sell at the same time, how does that actually play out in real life? Should I be telling my first seller, hey, I'm about to list that property? How would you feel if I had your property listed and then a few days later, a week later, whatever the case may be, another property just a few doors down, I list that other property, it's in direct competition with your property, and I never even told you about it? How would you feel about that? Let me know below. How would the second listing feel if I said, hey, I can't tell you anything that we spoke about before? With the first listing, that second listing, how would the first listing feel when that other one comes out and I didn't give them much information? I just said, look, we're listing another property, and then that second property, that's again in direct competition. I think we can all agree that if there's no direct competition, what does it matter? I mean, if one's a big 4-bedroom detached and the other one's a 3-bedroom bungalow or a semi or a town, if there's no direct competition, what does it matter? But if they're directly competing, which is what I saw in the example I'm talking to you about, how the second property gets listed at a better price, at a higher commission. Imagine if the second one sells first. How do I not tell my first seller the kind of offers we're receiving and the details? Because I also now have a responsibility to the second listing because we've signed a listing agreement. You see how complicated it's getting? This is what's playing out in my head. How does the listing agent deal with that to offer the proper service to everybody? Now, we've all driven down the street and seen the same for sale sign on multiple properties on the same street. These are usually where the buyer's expected to buy 3, 4, or 5 properties at the same time. These are all normally tear down type of houses, so they're buying that whole section to build something else. That's not what I'm talking about there. What I'm talking about mentally, I have a conflict with. How does that work? How would you feel about that scenario? If you were the first listing and your agent lists another house in direct competition with you just a few doors down. That's what I'd like to know. Let me know below. Now, if you feel this video can help somebody you know, please pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really easy. Below this video in the description is a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Let's get into the numbers. We have a multi-family home like you've never seen before. Check out the video at the end of this video. Sellers are in trouble. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about the reason they're selling, their financial situation, they can't afford mortgage. I'm not talking anything at all about that. I'm just talking about the market. The market is moving away from the sellers. It's not so much in the seller's favor and headed further away. Sellers may have missed the boat, and it's getting tougher and tougher for them to get their price, even to get the sale in general. Let me show you when we're looking at the numbers. So here's a quick summary. Average sold prices up to week ending October 11th. There's 3 months here. So when you look at it this way, you know, going back 3 months, there's not a lot of change between average sold prices middle of July to, we'll say, almost middle of October. Not a lot of changes in average sold price. But let's look a little bit closer. So here I'm looking at only for the City of Toronto, detached properties only, up to week ending October 11th. And although there's a whole year here, I'm really looking at the trend. And the trend is really after Labor Day, because before Labor Day was the summer. After Labor Day is like a whole new season, the fall season. We had a lot of hopes for the fall season. Buyers were excited about potentially seeing a ton more listings, which they got. Sellers were excited about the buyer frenzy in the fall, and well, they got maybe got a little bit of that. And just so the fall kind of seems to have picked up for a couple of weeks. There's a lot of excitement, and already it's headed the other way very fast. So let's look at sales. Sales jumped up, but man, quickly they're coming down again. 119 detached properties were sold. So sales already trending down very quickly for the last few weeks right after Labor Day. Didn't take long. The amount of property selling at $2 million or more. Peaked at 51 right out of Labor Day 1-2 weeks, and now for 2 weeks in a row, it's been coming down. 26 properties sold at $2 million or more. Just 2 weeks ago, we're at 51. And average sold prices been dropping. It's now at $1,608,000. Now, I'm not saying properties are inexpensive and we're giving them away, but average price is coming way down. Compared to last year, look, it's still 10% higher than where we were this time last year. The median price of $1,283,000 is 6% higher than where we were this time last year. But let's relook at, so just outside of Labor Day, average prices and median prices were trending up. But that lasted 2, maybe 3 weeks, and already we can see prices coming down when it comes to detached properties in the City of Toronto. The amount of properties selling at list price or more is way down. We used to be high 50s, 60s just 3 months ago. We're now 35%, about a third selling at list price or more. So lots of room for negotiation not as competitive as it once was. Listings, outside of Labor Day, listings shot up. We were thinking, wow, lots of choices out there. And now listings are coming down, and you would think, oh, so the market's getting tighter because there's less listings. No, look at active listings. Active listings have been climbing. We're now sitting at 1,782 properties not sold midnight weekending October 11th. To put that into perspective, this time last year, we had 1,282 active listings for the same weekending. We're sitting at 500 more active listings this year. Months of inventory, we're sitting at 3.5 months of inventory. This time last year, it was 2.4 months of inventory. It was more competitive this time last year. It was a tighter market. Now we're sitting at 3.5, very much a balanced market. And although outside of Labor Day for September, it got a little bit tighter, there's so many weird things happening in the market that is very difficult to explain. Months of inventory came down. Prices should have been going up, but they continued to drop. We're now sitting at 3.5, more of a balanced type of market. Let's look at all of Toronto. Well, sorry, let's break Toronto down. We just looked at all of Toronto. Months of inventory was 3.5. Well, there's areas outperforming all of Toronto. Scarborough sitting at 1.9 months of inventory. East York Riverdale, very competitive at 1.6 months of inventory. The other side, 2.2 for Rexdale, 2.5 months of inventory for Etobicoke. So there's areas outperforming all of Toronto. Let's look at semis. We went from 52 sales, half. 26 semi-detached properties were sold for weekending October 11th. 8 of those, which is way down from the previous week, 8 of those sold at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price went up to $1,326,000. 1,326 is 10% higher than where we were this time last year. The median price of $1,073,000 has been trending down now for a few weeks. It's 7% lower than where we were this time last year. Months of inventory shot up to 3.9, less than a third. 31% of semis are selling at list price or more. Townhouses, same story with townhouses. We had a couple of weeks where it seemed that sales were really starting to pick up, but we're down to 13 townhouses. These are freehold townhouses, 13 sold across all the city of Toronto. 2 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price came down to $1,166,000. Excuse me. 1,166 is 13% lower than where we were this time last year, and the median price of 1,125 is 2% lower than where we were this time last year. Months of inventory sitting at 3.1. Here's condos. Condos sales just never really seemed to pick up after the end of May. We were hovering in the 300s, mid 300 condo. These are condo apartments being sold in a week, but that was, April, May. Come just past May, it seems that sales have been dropping quite a bit. We went from 345 to 138 condo apartments were sold. 15 of those were at $1 million or more, which is down from the previous few weeks. Average sold price, well, from that previous week to now, it did come down. It went from $763 to $747, so not a big change. Overall, though, we went as low as $709, which was the end of August, and it seems after Labor Day, it actually seems condo prices, even though sales have been dropping, condo prices have been trending upwards, which I know not a lot of people have that on their radar. It's condo prices are coming down, down, down. Not when you look at it like this. Compared to last year, 747 is 1% higher than where it was a year ago. The median price is also 1% higher than where it was a year ago. And outside, just past Labor Day, average prices for condos and median prices have been trending up. Now, not by a lot, it's just a few $1,000s each week, but prices have been trending up. 138 was sold, 30% sold at list price or more. Look at active listings. We'll look at listings first of all. Listings, so we went, boom, we jumped up right away with a ton of condo listings, but they've been coming down soon as we went to the peak, boom, listings have been dropping. 741 condos were listed for week ending October 11th. But look at active listings. We went from 3,400, we're now sitting at 4,265 compared to this time last year. This time last year we had 2,622 active listings. What's that? 1,600 more, a little bit over 1,600, 1,600 more condos available for sale this time than we had this time last year. 1,600 more condos. And months of inventory, very clearly for a few weeks now sitting in a buyer's market. Now this is condos across the city of Toronto, so there's going to be different situations in different neighborhoods, slightly different. Some buildings, you can't find a condo for sale. One comes up, it sells quickly at a great price compared to the previous sale. Other condos have multiple listings just sitting there, and that is actually the majority of cases. Months of inventory, sitting at 6 months of inventory. Months of inventory has been climbing for a while now, which is surprising that average prices have been climbing. This time last year, we were sitting at 3.9 months of inventory. Big difference, 3.9 to 6. Here's a quick summary. Condos, very much in a buyer's market. Detached semis in towns, well, they're getting there. They're very much in a balanced market now, but you're going to find some neighborhoods where it is a buyer's market, where there's lots of properties to choose from, and they're sitting there. This is why I keep thinking, did some of these sellers miss the boat? Or some of these sellers that are holding out for those extra few bucks where they did get offers and they didn't take them, they might have missed the boat because things jumped up right away. Lots of enthusiasm first 1, 2, 3 weeks past Labor Day, but already it's turning down, headed downhill already. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day. Welcome to 4027 Bloor Street West in Etobicoke. Before I show you the inside of this home, let me tell you what makes it so unique. It has in all 8 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms. It has 9-foot and 10-foot ceilings. Each room has its own individual climate control. These are all luxury features you would expect from a custom-built home. But what really stands out in this home is that it was designed from the very beginning for 2 families to live separate and independent of each other, both above grade. Let me start by showing you the principal residence. So this is the principal residence. Including the finished basement, you have 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, about 3,000 square feet. So here's the finished basement. It has 10-foot ceilings, an entertainment area, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a private walk-up to the backyard. So this is the private, self-contained, luxurious secondary suite with 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. Have a look.